A trusted logistics empire cleared by the Department of Defense secretly operated a massive underworld network.
And the most terrifying part? They bribed our federal agents to protect their illicit trade.
They used 47 shell companies to launder the money, making it look like boring administrative firms.
We thought it was just agricultural equipment, but the floorboards hid $47 million in vacuum-packed cash.
On March 15th, 2024 at 4:47 a.m. on Interstate 10, just outside El Paso, Texas, a massive white Freightliner truck slowly pulled into a checkpoint, looking like any other truck transporting cross-country cargo. It had clean Department of Transportation license plates, perfect paperwork, and a driver who was friendly to the officers. Inside the cabin, the manifest listed agricultural equipment being transported to distribution centers in Phoenix, Arizona. Standard cargo handling procedures were strictly followed, and the driver showed no signs of nervousness. During a thorough inspection of the vehicle, Border Patrol agent Sarah Mitchell noticed a physical anomaly. She found that the axle offset didn't match the declared cargo weight, being 2 inches lower than normal. At the secondary inspection area, officers used ground-penetrating radar to scan the walls of the truck bed. The scan revealed a secret compartment mechanically constructed behind a false wall using heavy machinery. They anticipated finding hundreds of pounds of fentanyl or blocks of cocaine. Inside the steel cavity, investigators found 32 military-grade bags stacked from floor to ceiling. Inside wasn't drugs, but $47 million in cash, vacuum-packed and hydraulically compressed. Federal agents watched in silence as the largest cash seizure in the history of the U.S. highway system took place. From this truck, a 12-year corporate fraud scheme began to unravel. Before delving deeper into this case, please subscribe to the channel so we have more motivation to create more videos. Agent Raymond Torres watched through the two-way glass as the young driver finally confessed the truth in the interrogation room. After 3 hours of heavy silence, the suspect whispered a single name: Transcore Logistics. It sounded like a typical freight company, but the background check sent shivers down the team's spine. Transcore operated across 17 states, owned a fleet of hundreds of trucks, and held Department of Defense security clearances. In federal databases, the company had a flawless safety record with no suspicious signs whatsoever. They operated as a phantom infrastructure hidden behind a massive wall of legitimate commerce and government trust. Analysts from the FBI and DEA began scouring the company's servers, and they uncovered a digital masterpiece of deception. Inside the main office in Phoenix, 2 separate dispatch systems ran on the same hardware. A legitimate cargo handling system for Fortune 500 companies transported washing machines and auto parts across the country. The shadowy system hidden behind layers of military-grade encryption managed the movement of a secret fleet of vehicles. On the encrypted network, specific drivers received routing instructions that never appeared in official logs. These drivers were the elite of the operation, recruited from the ranks of former military logistics officers and retired law enforcement personnel. They were fluent in street language, understood border control procedures, and never missed a delivery. Over 3 years, this underground network transported 18 tons of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine deep into the United States. The trucks heading south returned with $370 million in cash, hidden in the same empty compartments. In the eyes of the Department of Transportation, these vehicles were simply transporting empty pallets or agricultural tools. It was a perfect spiral between crime and commerce, fueled by the company's culture of silence. Marcus Delgado, the founder and CEO, built this empire over 12 years with remarkable precision. By employing people who understood the system, he ensured that every illegal shipment was protected by badges or work records. He ensured that the fleet underwent regular inspections and that all public operations strictly adhered to federal regulations. Federal investigators realized that the scale of this corruption was unprecedented in American history. During a thorough investigation of financial records, the investigative team uncovered 47 shell companies used to launder the cartel's money. This was a weaponized syndicate. Business records revealed that the company even transported actual goods for the Pentagon using the same trucks that had transported poison for the Sinaloa cartel. At the heart of this network, Delgado sat in his San Diego office watching his legitimate profits mingle with the dirty money of the drug trade. He had transformed America's highway system into a private high-speed artery for the world's most dangerous criminal organization. The excitement for investigators was immense, But the awareness of the threat was even greater. They weren't just chasing a few rogue drivers, they were battling a shadow government built on diesel fuel and deception. Every truck on the road now looked like a potential threat, and every clean cargo manifest looked like a lie.
Look,
Unmasking Transcore Logistics was just the beginning, because the underground coordination system was still in operation, and many more trucks were now in transit. March 28, 2024, 5 a.m., in the upscale La Jolla neighborhood of San Diego. FBI task forces moved silently across the meticulously manicured lawns of a $4 million mansion. They anticipated a fierce shootout or a desperate escape attempt through the back garden. Inside the main office, Marcus Delgado sat behind a mahogany desk, dressed in a tailored silk robe and holding a steaming cup of espresso. The CEO didn't reach for a weapon and refused to call a lawyer. On his desk, 3 encrypted laptops were open, their screens flashing live GPS data from the Transcore fleet. He watched the lead agent with a cold, predatory calm that made the task force pause. The man was the corporation's architect, the one who had calculated the cost of his own capture. Behind the walls of the house, agents found a secret safe under the floorboards beneath the heavy equipment of the home gym.
A legacy.
A leather-bound notebook lay inside the steel box containing the names and badge numbers of those Delgado called his Gatekeepers Council. The investigation instantly shifted from a drug bust to a large-scale internal nightmare. 3 former Border Patrol agents worked as highly paid consultants for Transcore, providing real-time intelligence on sensor placement and officer rotations. In mourning a routine checkpoint, briefings these individuals provided the cartel with the precise timing of every security breach at the border. They were the eyes of the underworld network monitoring observers from within the federal system. In Phoenix, a bank compliance officer at a major financial institution received $15,000 a month to suppress reports of suspicious activity. She was the last line of defense against money laundering, and it was she who made the entire operation possible. For over 18 months, this agent thwarted 47 reports that would have alerted the transport company to its banking activities. Near the border town of Laredo, a customs broker facilitated expedited border crossings through preferential use of legitimate business paperwork. He transported modified trucks through inspection zones with minimal oversight, raking in $15,000 a month for his services. These payments were disguised as consulting contracts that looked perfectly legal on paper. The balance of power in the office shifted when the lead agent realized they were dealing with a high-level conspiracy. Delgado had integrated the law directly into his business model as if it were standard operating procedure. Whenever a truck is called for a secondary inspection, a call is made from a disposable phone to a specific station. If a bank detects $1 million deposit, a digital record is silently erased from the server before it reaches the Internal Revenue Service. This is a crime-fighting immunity system built with the signatures and approval of the U.S. government. Agents led Delgado away in handcuffs, but he smiled as he passed the task force down the hallway. He knew that the infrastructure he had built was larger than any arrest, and his silence was a message to others. The silence in the room weighed heavily on the pain of institutional betrayal as the team realized the scale of their enemy. They had spent months pursuing a phantom, only to discover that Phantom was wearing federal uniform. As the sun rose over the Pacific, the task force knew that the arrest of a CEO was only the first layer of a much darker story. Inside the forensic accounting unit in San Diego, the true scale of Transcore's operation began to emerge on high-resolution screens, revealing a digital masterpiece of tax evasion. Analysts from the FBI and IRS found themselves facing a financial architecture no less complex than a tax evasion scheme by Fortune 500 companies. Through 47 separate shell companies meticulously filtered to avoid scrutiny from federal regulators, these entities with generic names like Western Freight Solutions and Global Logistics Partners looked like boring administrative firms on paper, but they were the main lungs of the cartel's money machine. Each day, transporters moved across the Southwest, delivering bundles of cash consistently under $10,000, the federal reporting limit. They avoided triggering the banking system's automatic alerts by spreading transactions across 63 different financial institutions. Simultaneously, the company maintained relationships with senior bank compliance officers who were paid to turn a blind eye. This was the network's immunity, a multi-state network designed to transform dirty money into clean corporate equity. On the northbound routes, drug trafficking operated as efficiently as a legitimate assembly line. A truck carrying household goods to Denver might look exactly like any other vehicle on the highway, but behind rows of real washing machines and dryers, the goods were transformed into something far more dangerous. Cartel engineers in Mexico hollowed out the internal components of the appliances, creating lead-lined cavities that could pass standard X-ray scanners. Using these secret compartments, the network could transport 50 kilograms of high-purity methamphetamine or 200,000 fentanyl pills in a single trip. In other shipments, car transmissions to Chicago were dismantled and reassembled with vacuum-packed drugs before being reassembled with factory precision. These parts were then greased, placed on official pallets, and issued legitimate shipping documents matching the company's electronic logs. The exchange took place at legitimate warehouses where cartel contacts, posing as warehouse workers, would swap the modified parts for genuine ones during their breaks. Heading south, the trade flow reversed into a massive cash flow. Trucks carrying the poison to the Midwest returned to the border carrying millions of dollars in cash, compressed into blocks using hydraulic force. Inside the truck's structural components, cash was concealed within hollow floorboards or reinforced roof panels. To the average observer or even a regular DOT inspector, the truck appeared to be empty, returning to Texas to pick up a new shipment. In reality, the vehicle was a mobile vault carrying the Sinaloa cartel's lifeline throughout America's infrastructure. Transcore used its legitimate business profits to purchase more trucks, more warehouses, and increase its influence in the transportation industry. By the time the investigation reached its peak, the company was estimated to have transported $140 million in cartel cash annually. Federal police acted with overwhelming force on the morning of the raid to freeze all assets connected to the Delgado empire. They seized 217 commercial trucks, a fleet worth over $35 million, effectively wiping out the cartel's main transportation route. 19 warehouses and distribution facilities across the Southwest were sealed and searched for further evidence of the clandestine dispatch system. Throughout the region, agents seized 42 residential properties purchased with laundered money to house the network's elite drivers. By the end of the day, the total value of seized assets totaled nearly $180 million, marking the largest business seizure in the region's history. This operation represented the complete liquidation of a criminal organization that had successfully turned America's highway system into a weapon against the public. Investigators discovered that Delgado even planned to franchise this model to other major urban corridors such as Dallas and New Orleans. He had created a blueprint for a multi-generational criminal project, one that turned the very concept of American commerce into a weapon against the public. The San Diego courtrooms fell silent as the final indictment was read against the masterminds of Transcore Logistics. Inside the federal building, Marcus Delgado faced a life sentence without parole, while his associates received decades in prison for treason. At a press conference, federal prosecutors stood before a map of America's highway system showing that 18 tons of poison had been transported through our infrastructure. This investigation proved that our greatest strength, the efficiency of commercial transportation, is also our most terrifying weakness. In the modern age, power doesn't always need violence or shadows to operate. It only needs a clean cargo manifest, a professional driver, and a system too busy to check the weight of the goods. Every day, thousands of trucks roll down the highways carrying the goods that power the American economy. Most of these operations are exactly as they appear, but the Transcore case proves that a perfect facade is the ultimate weapon of criminal organizations. By following this far, you're seeing a reality that most people choose to ignore. Please like this post so this investigation reaches those who need to know the truth. Like and comment with your thoughts so these underground networks can be brought to light.